Imagine being 4 years old. Your entire world should be filled with cartoons, bedtime stories, and endless curiosity. Instead, your name becomes the center of one of the most heartbreaking criminal investigations in America. For days, thousands of people searched through woods, fields, and neighborhoods hoping to find little Javeayah Harris alive. The FBI joined the search. Volunteers refused to give up. Entire communities prayed for a miracle. But behind the scenes, investigators were beginning to believe something much darker had happened. What started as a missing child case quickly transformed into a homicide investigation that shocked even seasoned detectives. And the people accused of being responsible were the two people who should have protected her the most. This is the tragic story of Javeayah Harris. Before we uncover what happened, if you're new to Uncovered Crime Mysteries, welcome. Here we dive deep into real-life crime cases, disappearances, and ongoing investigations with careful research and respect for the victims and their families. If that's the kind of content you enjoy, please take a moment to subscribe, turn on notifications, and give this video a like. It really helps the channel grow and allows us to continue bringing you well-researched true crime stories. Now, let's go back to the beginning and uncover the heartbreaking case of 4-year-old Javeayah Harris. Who was Javeayah? Javeayah Harris was just 4 years old. She lived in Aiken County, South Carolina. Friends and relatives described her as a beautiful little girl with a bright smile and braided hair decorated with pink beads. Like many children her age, she should have been spending her days learning, laughing, and growing up. Instead, investigators now believe that her life ended far too soon. The tragedy would not become public until the end of June 2026. The Missing Person Report. It's just before 9 p.m. on June 30, 2026. Authorities received a report that Javeayah had disappeared from her family's home. Michelle Herring, 9 months pregnant, calls emergency dispatch from her home on Hillsborough Street. She tells them her daughter was outside playing, that she went in to cook dinner, and that when she came back out, Javeayah was gone. She describes what the girl was wearing. Pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, Crocs, her hair braided with pink beads. When the dispatcher asks whether the child has any health conditions, Herring mentions autism, though she says no formal diagnosis was ever made. She tells the dispatcher she can't search the way she normally would because of her pregnancy. She mentions a chicken coop in the yard, a spot where Javeayah likes to play, and says she's already checked there.
Ma'am, I'm at 39 Hillsborough Street. I can't find my baby.
39 Hillsborough Street?
Yes, ma'am. She was outside playing, and I came out here after cooking dinner a little bit, and I'm looking for her, but I don't see her nowhere.
All right, how old is this baby?
Within hours, the Aiken County Sheriff's Office is mobilizing search teams near Hillsborough Street and Ridgecrest Road. Deputies, state investigators, the FBI, search dogs, drones, helicopters, more than 200 first responders joined the effort to find the missing child. Every passing hour made the situation more urgent. Temperatures were dangerously high. Investigators hoped they would find Javeayah before it was too late. But something wasn't adding up. The search. By July 1st, this is no longer a local matter. The FBI, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, and the South Carolina Highway Patrol all join Aiken County investigators. The search area expands to thousands of acres. Some in the community ask a painful question. Why wasn't an Amber Alert issued? The sheriff's office responds that the case doesn't meet the criteria for one, and that they can't risk an untrained volunteer missing a critical clue or causing harm. Digital billboards go up along local highways with Javeayah's photo. A restaurant owner in Aiken prepares dozens of meals for the search crews. A church opens its doors to shelter volunteers. By July 3rd, search teams have covered 3,000 acres. By July 4th, that number climbs past 5,000. Javeayah's father, Javeayah Harris, speaks to a local news crew. He describes his daughter as trusting and friendly, a child who didn't understand stranger danger the way other kids might, who said yes ma'am and no ma'am to everyone she met. He says he and Herring have no idea what happened to her. By Friday night, the search is scaled back. The announcement no one wanted. Behind the scenes, investigators were beginning to suspect that Javeayah may never have gone missing on June 30th at all. On July 4th, Sheriff Marty Sawyer stands before cameras and delivers the news the entire community has been dreading. He tells reporters that the investigation and the evidence gathered lead him to believe 4-year-old Javeayah Harris is deceased. The child had likely died weeks before she was ever reported missing. The framing of the case shifts instantly, from a search for a missing child to a homicide investigation. Investigators say they no longer believe Javeayah simply wandered off. Something else happened, and it happened well before anyone called 911. As investigators interviewed witnesses and gathered evidence, inconsistencies reportedly began to emerge. The timeline surrounding Javeayah's disappearance became increasingly difficult to reconcile with the physical evidence. Authorities continued searching. The investigation shifted from searching for a missing child to searching for evidence. The shocking arrests. On Saturday, July 5th, investigators arrest both parents. Javeayah Harris and Michelle Herring are booked into the Aiken County Detention Center. Both are charged with murder, homicide by child abuse. Herring faces an additional charge, filing a false police report. Under South Carolina law, homicide by child abuse carries a sentence of 20 years to life. The false report charge carries up to 5 years, or a $5,000 fine. At their bond hearings the next morning, neither parent has an attorney present. Herring tells the magistrate she works for a company called Transcom, paid bi-weekly. Both are denied bond.
Herring, you've been charged with homicide by child abuse. Do you understand that charge?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that if convicted, it carries up 20 years to life in prison? Do you
Yes, sir.
understand that? You've also been charged with filing a false police report of a felony violation. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
It carries up to 5 years in prison or a $5,000 fine. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you want to see if you qualify for a court-appointed attorney, or are you going to retain the services? Are you going to retain the services of your own legal counsel?
I can get public assistance.
Okay. So answer a couple of questions for me. Are you employed?
Yes, sir.
And where do you work?
Transcom.
Transcom?
Yes, sir.
Do you get paid weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly?
Bi-weekly.
And on average, what do you typically bring home every 2 weeks?
1,300.
Anybody else live in the household with you?
Yes, sir. The father.
So just one?
Yes, sir.
Does he do anything to contribute to the financial status of the home?
He work at DHL.
Okay. All right, this time, you make too much money to qualify for a court-appointed attorney.
Okay.
So you're going to need to retain the services of legal counsel on your own.
For many watching the case unfold, the arrests were almost impossible to comprehend. Neighbors near the search area in Fairfield County, nearly 2 hours from Aiken, tell reporters they haven't seen Javeayah in months. The people who had reported Javeayah missing were now accused of playing a role in her death. What investigators say happened. According to arrest warrants cited by investigators, both parents showed what investigators describe as extreme indifference to human life. Authorities allege that the parents admitted they did not seek medical care after Javeayah suffered serious injuries during an alleged assault by her mother. The exact circumstances and cause of death have not yet been fully established in court, and these allegations remain part of an ongoing criminal case. Investigators now believe Javeayah had already been dead for roughly a month before Herring ever picked up the phone to call 911. The 911 call, the frantic search, the description of pink pajamas and braided hair, was, according to authorities, built around a story that wasn't true. Investigators say this alleged incident occurred sometime between May 1st and June 15th. If proven, it would mean Javeayah had been dead for weeks before anyone reported her missing. That possibility devastated both investigators and the local community.
The night of the 911 call on June the 30th, when that call was made, it was already too late to save Javeayah. At this time, our investigation supports that she had been deceased for at least a month. I'm deeply saddened to tell you that our investigation and evidence leads us to believe that 4-year-old Javeayah Harris is deceased. It's the outcome that we all feared, and sadly, it's the outcome that we must face.
Finding Javeayah. The search for physical evidence moves out of Aiken County entirely into Fairfield County, to an area near Debutery Creek known locally as Stumpy Pond, a place good for fishing, but difficult to navigate, thick with submerged stumps and trees. The South Carolina Department of Natural Resources leads the effort with boats, a drone team, and ATVs, alongside SLED and the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. Access roads are blocked to everyone except law enforcement. Eventually, investigators recover a small number of human remains from Cedar Creek Reservoir. DNA testing confirms what everyone feared. They belong to Javeayah Harris, destroying the evidence. As the investigation continued, Sheriff Marty Sawyer announced another deeply disturbing development. On July 9th, Sheriff Marty Sawyer holds another press conference where he announced another deeply disturbing development. And this one is, in his words, one of the most difficult moments of his career. He tells reporters that after Javeayah's death, the parents took extensive and deliberate steps to destroy and conceal evidence. According to arrest warrants, the destruction of her remains took place on June 8th. Investigators who later recovered some remains believed to belong to Javeayah through DNA testing say corrosive chemicals and other tools were used to accelerate the breakdown of her body, which was then poured into a reservoir. Sawyer struggles to keep his composure at the podium. He tells the room he won't refer to Herring and Harris as mother and father. He says they don't deserve the title. Because of the method used to dispose of her remains, Sawyer says it's unlikely Javeayah's body will ever be fully recovered. Additional charges follow: destruction and desecration of human remains, filed against both parents. These allegations are expected to be examined further during future court proceedings. A community in mourning. News of the case spread across the country. Thousands of people shared Javeayah's picture online. Many had followed the case from the moment she was reported missing, hoping for a rescue. Instead, they were left mourning a little girl whose life ended far too soon. Outside the family's home on Hillsborough Street, a memorial begins to grow. A single teddy bear at first. Within days, it becomes something much larger. Stuffed animals, flowers, handwritten notes, all left by people who, in many cases, never even met Javeayah. A vigil is held in a spot known locally as the Alley. Sheriff's deputies wear pink ribbons and ties, Javeayah's favorite color, in her memory. Online discussions reflected widespread grief and calls for justice, while many also expressed sympathy for Javeayah's extended family. A newborn enters the story, too. Herring gives birth just days after her arrest. The infant, Javeayah's baby sister, is placed with paternal relatives. In the weeks that follow, a petition begins circulating, calling on lawmakers to pass what supporters are calling Javeayah's Law, aimed at closing what the petition describes as a federal loophole and strengthening protections for children. Where the case stands. Even as the case moves forward, major questions remain unanswered. Investigators haven't said whether both parents actively participated in Javeayah's death, or whether one caused the fatal injury while the other helped conceal it afterward. They haven't revealed whether any prior reports of concern were made about the family, or whether child welfare agencies had previous contact with them. Legal analysts note that South Carolina generally reserves the death penalty for murder cases involving specific statutory aggravating factors, and prosecutors have not said whether they'll pursue charges beyond what's already been filed. Much of what happens next depends on forensic evidence still being processed, and court documents that remain sealed. As of now, the criminal case remains active. Javeayah's parents have been charged, but they have not been convicted, and they are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court. Prosecutors will ultimately have to present evidence before a judge or jury. Additional forensic testing and legal proceedings are expected before the full circumstances surrounding Javeayah's death are established. For days, a community searched the woods and waters of South Carolina for a little girl in pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, holding on to hope. What they eventually learned was that Javeayah Harris had already been gone for a month. and that the two people responsible for keeping her safe were the ones who took her life, and then tried to erase any trace that she had ever been harmed. Her case is still working its way through the courts. Her community has not stopped saying her name.
Yeah, it's sad. It shouldn't happen.
And just a 4-year-old, you know, it's just sad that a 4-year-old is just taken missing, and just, you know, we were looking for her to come up, found some kind of a way, but unfortunately it was just a bad sort.
The death of a child leaves questions that can never truly be answered. What dreams would she have had? Who might she have become? For 4-year-old Javeayah Harris, those questions now remain forever unanswered. As the legal process continues, investigators, prosecutors, and Javeayah's loved ones are still seeking accountability and a clearer understanding of what happened. If you found this case informative, consider subscribing to Uncovered Crime Mysteries for respectful, fact-based coverage of ongoing investigations and resolved cases. And if you have thoughts on this case, share them respectfully in the comments while remembering that the judicial process is still underway.